Welcome into another great morning with the B team. The Kingmaker is getting some sun, and yet there is still no news of a coach.
Have you seen what he's doing on the beach? Have y'all seen any of his Instagram? Man was on a yacht. I don't know what it was, but he was steering the ship. He was steering the ship, dude.
Was he?
Yes.
You know what I think it is? Jordy signed up for Below the Deck. Is it Below the Deck? What's that show called?
Below Deck. I don't watch it, but I know what it's called. I think that's. It seemed like that's what he's doing.
I think he signed up for that.
Or he's, he's on the coast going to pick up some people from Naples, going to help Vitello with the move.
Yeah, maybe.
Going all the way to Italy.
Is he driving the boat like this the whole entire time?
Yeah, Pisan.
Screw Magellan. It's Culotta time, baby.
give me the wheel.
I wish we could have more news on a coach. We thought, hey, maybe Corbin would be open for some talks, and then Stanford, horrible heartbreak city. That poor kid. What was it, Matthew Beck, I think his name? Kid was dealing for the first 10 batters.
Well, Matthew Beck's the LSU pitcher, so it probably wasn't him.
Who was it? It was something Beck, man. Yeah. The kid was absolutely dealing. Come out of the bullpen, you thought, well,
bro, I have a theory, and I sent this to the group text yesterday. Okay, so before he throws that pass ball, he goes for the pitcher wristband that has like the signal calls on it,
right.
And he's been sitting in his back pocket with ass sweat in there for a full inning and a half. So I imagine he goes in there right-handed, he throws right-handed, he slides it on his pitching hand. Fingers were a little greasy, dude. He had a little sweat. I thought he was going in there to get a little tack, but it turned out to be the opposite.
A little pine tar?
Yes, and it turned so that thing slipped right out of his hand because he's trying to airmailed it. So it's 100% had wet hands. Didn't think to check about it. Moment was a little too big to realize that my fingers might be a little wet, and airmails it and sends him home. Terrible feeling because it was all happenstance for going for a wristband that you don't even need. Dude, throw a fastball or throw a curveball. Let's get through this.
Such a crazy series of events because they get the first 2 outs.
The dude was rolling. He's their best closer. He was 45 for 45 in save attempts.
Walked the guy. Then the error on the throw to get the big 6-7.
I thought if they were going to win that, I was like, oh my God, he just backhanded. They're going to win that way. And he should just ate it, but that's hindsight.
Old boy was moving.
Yeah, no, I think he beats it out even if it's not.
Oh, without a doubt. I didn't know he could run like that. They put him in.
He strides.
He pinch runs.
Giraffe running, man.
He's a pinch hitter, hits a bomb, and then he comes in, and then he absolutely causes havoc on the bases. So, like you said yesterday, Vanderbilt coaching, that was a coaching win. To be able to go extra bases and squeeze some things like that out and put pressure on the defense. I mean, he pushed all the right buttons at the right time, and Vanderbilt advances.
Oh, we were talking about it, just how good, like Enrique Bradford Jr. I mean, he's probably one of the best players in college baseball. Probably one of the most athletic, leads the country in stolen bases with 46. But just how fundamentally sound he is running the bases. I mean, there was one, just a little line drive to center field. He's able to go from first to third on it. Takes a great read going around second. And even the slide, man, he slid like 15 feet.
Yeah, dude, talk about a pristine.
He was on a slip and slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if he was on turf, he's in the third base dugout.
Like Cruz did in Tennessee.
That's what I'm saying. That's the difference. Yeah, get some fucking dirt. Because that cost us a run.
Right.
Cracker Jack.
You are going back to that Stanford kid. You're right, because when looking at his reaction, it wasn't like Heartbreak City at first. He kind of was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
I screwed it up. Like he knew it.
It was shock.
He shouldn't have did it.
Fuck, man. Like I could totally see that. I mean, the ball got stuck like in the netting back there, so they were completely done.
Hit and he went up and down and then just sat there.
So I think that's what 100% what happened. He just had a little wet ball accident. He went for the wristband. Didn't need to grab it. Had some wet fingers and then airmails it because I don't think he throws that pitch since he was in junior high.
Right.
He hasn't left one up there like that. A little Rick Ankiel action.
So the Vandy boys are still alive. The other day we brought up, if I'm a Mississippi State fan, I'm probably one of the most confident right now in the College World Series just because they can fight adversity.
Right.
And Vanderbilt's done it twice. That Arizona game, I mean, I thought Arizona was going to win. And then they seemed dead man walking, death row. 2 outs against Stanford. The kid's dealing. You're on your last out, last strike, and they somehow pull it out. Who are you more confident in right now, Vanderbilt or Mississippi State?
I think Vanderbilt probably has the better team.
Yeah.
I would say, but Mississippi State,
I would say
they're loaded everywhere.
I would say Vandy just because they won last night without Rocker or Leiter, which means the next 2 games.
Oh, Kumar's coming.
They have Rocker
and the best
and
is
Leiter
they won the game was Kumar Rocker's worst start probably people have ever seen.
But then you lose Owen Leiter's best start probably of the year. So it's been wonky. But I mean, if you're Mississippi State, all you have to do is take one, huh? Or does it reclaim the series?
They played NC State.
Yeah, but if they go in undefeated, does the whole thing reset?
Oh, yeah.
Is it best of three again? Yeah,
it's best of three.
Exactly. So if you go into against Vanderbilt and they can make it with Kumar Rocker going, and then you have Leiter in game 1 of a College World Series, and then you can get Kumar back for a game 3.
Vandy Madison Bumgarner out of the pen.
Vandy sets up to, because that pitching is what makes them dominant.
Yeah, I mean they basically are gonna win 2 games unless something happens like the other night against NC State.
Where you just get shut out.
Yeah, they're gonna win the 2 games because they have the 2 best pitchers in college baseball lined up right after each other.
I was hearing theories like we were talking about it a lot. It was just like, is there a huge separation between our pitching and the pitchers in the College World Series? Because you see some of the movement. These guys are hitting 96, 97, and that 4 seems able to have a tail. The 2 seems hitting. But I heard a theory. It's just the way the camera angle's set up in Omaha. It looks like the pitch is dancing a little more. Because it looks like when we were pitching, they were flat. Like our fastballs were flat.
I mean, part of that's because once we get past our starters, it's just straight freshmen.
18-year-olds.
I mean, just a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds. So, I mean, I think probably part of it is their pitchers are better because they're actually seasoned pitchers, but the camera angle might be I don't know. I'm not a camera professional. So.
No, who knows? But I think let's get to the meat and potatoes of what the story is today, and that's Glenn Guilbeau releasing who he thinks would be the top 3 candidates according to sources, which is the Arizona head coach, the Eastern Carolina head coach, and the Notre Dame head coach.
Fancy.
And if we want to recant on what Guilbeau has done, he's known to kind of stir the pot with LSU fans, to put it lightly. He's, I mean, I don't want to call him a troll, but when you see one, you know one.
Shoe-in.
Yeah, so he called the
Does he work
Bianco
for
hire.
Advocate?
He works in Lafayette, but he's the LSU beat reporter for multiple things, yes. And so he comes out with his second report after he reported on Mike Bianco, and now he releases his top 3 candidates. And in this article, he assumes that neither Vitello or was it Miguel?
No, you didn't say Vitello.
Yeah, he didn't.
3.
He said Vitello hasn't even been interviewed yet. So how can you release the top 3 when there's a coach out there that should be interviewed, hasn't been interviewed
So
yet?
the interview said that Vitello will be interviewed, though.
Right, so why release the top 3 if he hasn't been interviewed yet? Because he's clearly going to be in your top 3.
There's 4 guys.
Getting those reads. He's just getting...
He's doing. I mean, as a man that has been in the clickbait game before, this was 100% clickbait, and he knows the audience he's stirring to her because nobody knows anything at this point, and it's very evident that the fan base is prying for any sort of information, any sort of insider news that LSU fans used to get. And Guilbeau writes this article hoping
the pot.
Yeah, to stir the pot.
There's no middle ground on this guy. From what I've gotten from people, it's just there's no middle ground. There's no like, yeah, he's all right. He's all right beat reporter. It's like, this guy sucks. Or, all right, I'll listen to him.
Yeah, as somebody that's, you not being from Louisiana, I totally understand, but he's been doing this for years. He knows the secret sauce to try to get people riled up, and kudos to him for doing it. But I would take this report with as far as I could throw it. And so I don't know exactly how it changes anything in terms of who we're looking for, because the Notre Dame name is kind of out of left field.
I just don't want to do that again.
The only thing it changes is it throws in a new name we haven't even... Like, I haven't heard a single human being bring up Link Jarrett until
that article.
Guilbeau's write-up. But if you take a look at the 3 finalists, there's Cliff Godwin, who we all like. Obviously, he's been one of the names since the jump. Link Jarrett, Jay Johnson. Godwin has coached ECU.
With the least amount of resources, I would say, out of the 3.
With 100%.
At ECU since 2015. He only missed the tournament once in 2017. Made supers 3 times. So, I mean...
44.
When you look at it,
that's a dog.
He's a 43-year-old coach, and he's made the supers 3 times with East Carolina. Link Jarrett has only coached Notre Dame for 2 seasons, one of them being last year, the COVID year. So he's only been a big-time head coach for 2 years and has only made the tournament once out of the 2 teams he's coached, UNC, Greensboro, and Notre Dame. Notre Dame made it this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't, just because that's how he got pulmonary from Notre Dame.
I'm not discounting it, but what we've wanted is we want a coach that's proven himself, and I don't know if Jarrett's that. If he has proven himself as much as either Jay Johnson or especially Cliff Godwin.
So the beautiful part about that article that he was written, I think it just sums up right now. It's just I think LSU fans just want to be the Green Bay Packers. They just want to be involved in the decision-making process. And no one knows what's going on right now. No one has a clue. He doesn't know. We don't know. No one knows. It's all speculation. And then he writes this, and it's just to see what inside information. It's just people do anything for it right now.
He'll do it if you tag anything with I have sources inside the building.
Right.
Sources.
I find that hard to believe after he said the same thing with the Bianco that was going
It was a done deal. They said it was a done deal.
If you have to choose from these three coaches that are left, and if you want to, like, let's play an alternate reality game where you believe Glenn Guilbeau in this article, this absolutely means that Godwin's the hire.
Yeah, no,
because
I agree.
It's a mixture between the old guard and the new. You don't, by looking at him, you can't tell that he's 43, but he is same age as Tony Vitello, and then he has LSU ties where he coached here for 1 year under Mike Bianco. So you appease some of the players that played for him. If you see it on Twitter, there's a multitude of guys that were in the dugout with him that are advocating for Chris Godwin to be the hire. So this is a great way if you want to blend, like, kind of keep the old guard blended with what people want in a new, young, inspiring head coach. This would be the hire.
Right.
So if it's not, in my mind, if it's not Vitello, which we all have been pushing for and championing for, just because of the way he approaches the game, it would be fresh and new at LSU.
Right.
I think Godwin would be a great, I don't want to say number 2, but a great 1B.
Oh, yeah.
Considering what he's done at
agree.
ECU and how quickly he's done it. And that was his first shot to be a head coach, and by all means, it's been a major success.
Yeah, 3 supers. Imagine him with the resources that LSU
has.
And
Yeah,
so,
it's kind of staring you in the
guys,
face as to maybe this should be the hire.
I was watching their super regionals, and they had one kid, their number 1 ace, and he went toe-to-toe with Andy with a one run with the distance and lost. And they said that was his first loss in 2 years. It's like, whoa, where did they get this stud?
Little hidden gem down there, dude. Like, they've got a program, and it's all through him. And
it's actually a decent sports school, East Carolina. They're always decent at baseball, and then football. Once every 6 years, they find their way into the top 20 somehow.
Yeah, proud of Chris Johnson, dude. Watch out, Mr. 2K.
I was just looking at the guy. You were just talking about it, and I couldn't keep a straight face. Just some of the things people were saying about Guilbeau. Guilbeau, as usual, has diarrhea out the mouth, someone said. Guilbeau sucks. Guilbeau is a clown. So, yeah, people have something to say about that guy, so I would take it with a grain of salt. Nobody knows what's going on right now. There's no inside information. The Mickey Mouse Clubhouse revolving door of rumor mill, I think, is done right now.
Gone.
And if you're
beautiful sight.
And if you're Guilbeau, how do you even write? Like, I know that's his job. He has to write an article, but how do you get something from a source and be like, I guess I'll run with this to write an article? Because he doesn't know anything that anybody else knows. At this point, we are all grasping at straws. So for this to come out, and the Advocate picked it up a little bit, but if you're the Advocate, you have to run with it because it's news. It's something that has been, they say, leaked out. But at this point, if I was a beat writer or anybody, I know you have to write these articles, but I would be so cautious as what to say and how to say it, because I don't want to get burned twice. You already got burned on the Bianco.
Right.
And if it's from the same source or even somebody close to what you think is the same source, it's hard to write that article. I just know that he's doing it because you got to get something out there. And I'm sure a hire is, it's imminent and within the next, it'll be done before this weekend, I would imagine.
I would say just in the world of journalism, nobody cares about credibility right now. It's all about the clicks. If you get burned once in a week, short-term memory, you're like a 3-point shooter. Yeah, shoot at this point. You're just trying to get clicks. And something like that right now, LSU baseball candidates, if you put that as the headline, it will get traffic. It will get clicks.
Anything you say about the LSU head baseball coaching job is going to get clicks.
Oh, look, we're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Guilty of the moment.
Guilbeau did his job, but in terms of the Notre Dame coach, he was absolutely turned the Notre Dame program around.
Right.
It's either the sole reason we don't want him, or he seems to be bottom of the list, is because he's from Notre Dame and it feels like a pulmonary almost retread. I mean, he was a 2-time All-American shortstop at Florida State.
Right.
That's somebody that absolutely would probably know baseball. Brings a little bit to the table, but it feels like LSU fans are hesitant to go back to the Notre Dame well, not because Palmineri did a bad job, just because, as we've talked about,
we want something new.
We want something new. We want something different, and that feels like almost a retread to where you went down the same path in Candyland that you've already gone down.
Charles in the bunker has some great comments on Link Jarrett. He says, he's my second favorite head coach. Before he went to Notre Dame, he had 4 straight losing seasons, and he was able to bring them to a 56-17 record. And they should have been a top 8 seed just conference bias. They weren't able to get into it.
Right.
I mean, they were good. They had that one kid on Notre Dame. The guy hit one completely out of the park against Mississippi State.
Against State in the bottom of like the eighth.
He did it like twice. He was just hitting them out of the stadium.
And this is something that also LSU has to consider. We've lost our hitting coach in Eddie Smith. He took a head coaching job. Nolan Cain went to Texas A&M. So you have to have somebody that's going to bring in that you trust that has going to be able to bring in their own staff.
Right.
So I don't know what goes into how you evaluate if they bring everybody from the current coaching staff or you have people lined up that they want to bring in with Louisiana ties in terms of recruiting, because that makes a big deal. You want people that know the landscape. So when you think Godwin, he was in Louisiana for a year, so he understands what Baton Rouge is about, and he's done a good job recruiting at ECU. It's just a matter of bringing in somebody that knows how to recruit LSU, because I think Nolan Cain in all of this is a huge loss because you're bringing in a new staff that doesn't really understand the landscape. And some of these recruits have been committed for 2 or 3 years to a different regime. When Cain left, Paul Beneri has taken over the recruiting bit in terms of just kind of holding the rope and like reassuring these guys, like, look, whatever LSU does is going to be best for the program. You're going to love whoever they bring in. So then that's Paul Beneri probably not knowing who LSU was going to hire, but that's things you have to say. So I think the timing is becoming an issue at this point, because you have the MLB draft in almost a month, and some of these guys
waiting for Corbin to lose, maybe.
It could be that, and I feel like we wouldn't know more.
So close,
but we'd be able to speculate more on a Corbin hire. But I think it's very important for this to get done. The clock is ticking a little bit now that we've waited out almost a month, and then you have the MLB draft coming with some of these cats that you want on your roster will test draft waters. And if they don't know who the coach is,
so you know what?
Why would you? Why it might be easier to go pro if you get drafted in the second round,
especially with Nolan being gone. I think that is what makes it kind of itchier. Like you need to do something now because you lost your head recruiter.
Yeah, you had your little ace in the hole, and now it's gone.
And so, I think that's part of the reason why I like Vitello so much, because if you look at him,
number 2,
he was Nolan Cain at Arkansas, and turned them into a powerhouse, and then now he's the head coach at Tennessee and brings them from the dumps to a College World Series appearance. So, but
and you wonder with Vitello if he tries to bring in some of the cats that he was recruiting at Tennessee to LSU, or if you just kind of blow it up.
One shortstop in Tennessee he might just leave Tennessee and go straight to the draft, and he's in high school.
Right, and that's what all of these programs will have, like LSU, and I think the way that Vitello recruited Tennessee probably has, like you said, has those cats.
Joe Cruz shouldn't have played college baseball.
No, I mean, he absolutely big fish, little pond, and I respect the hell out of it.
I love it.
Let me hit 20 dingers in college my first year, have a good time.
360.
Probably has met his fair share of people out, and is living the dream. But if you're Vitello and you have these cats at Tennessee that you have committed, and like I said, these guys are committed 2 and 3 years out, because that's how baseball recruiting works.
Dude,
in
some
college.
of these guys, you're like 14 and you know you're going to be playing at LSU.
Right.
Like you're a freshman in high school. Unless you hit puberty and you're like 5 inches and start throwing 96. Like, it's the only way you're going to be getting an offer late into your high school career at the powerhouse baseball school.
Yeah, baseball recruiting is sneaky young. They get you at 12, 13, 14, because if you want to talk about the AAU circuit, baseball was doing it probably before basketball was.
No, I agree.
Like with the USSSA and all these showcase camps. So they have who they want pegged from a very early age. And they commit very early, because if you're from Louisiana, that's your dream offer, so I'll take it.
Yeah, the second LSU says something,
Exactly. So it makes you wonder how much the LSU nostalgia and the pull of the school will hold these kids, and how long it will hold them, because if you don't have a head coach, at some point you get a wandering eye, like, who am I going to be playing for?
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's the waiting game. I think you're not going to hear until Vandy loses, but they're probably going to be playing for the championship. You can't kill them. They're like a cockroach.
So I guess if Corbin's even in the conversation,
at least interview him,
then it'll wait. When does the College World Series end? Do you know? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
probably within or
like,
next
is it going to
week.
be Sunday or Monday? Like, is it that close?
No.
I mean, I've been watching the games. I don't keep up with. I'm not a schedule guy. I'm not a time guy. Y'all know that.
Just pop up and the game's on and just go on the ESPN
I just
app.
watched it yesterday. But that's what I'm saying. That's what makes timelines so important. If you have to wait it out for Corbin, we'll know if he's absolutely in the running if nothing's done over the weekend.
Right. Yeah. It says it should end June 30th. So that's
6 days.
Yeah, next week. So
brother,
could be another week before we hear peep if Corbin's still in the running. If not, then maybe something pops this weekend. But
do you wait if you're Scott Woodward, would you wait that 6 days just to entertain the idea of talking to him, even if it's a no?
Yeah. He's so good. I mean, I don't know if he would leave.
He's a spry 60. He looks great.
He's third base, man.
Yeah, that's what I like, too. I like having my coach out there at third base, like running shit.
Right,
you know, I want him to
Not
be
to sit
very
in the
involved,
dugout.
right? And I know Paul had the health stuff, so he couldn't really get out there, but he never did.
Yeah.
But I like somebody that's out there and involved, and if I make a mistake at third base, brother, it's
He'd
on me.
shoot into them in that first inning when they were sloppy.
And I think that's also something that I like to see is that he still has that fire about himself.
Yeah.
Where he pulled that whole team together. They asked him what he said. He's like, I can't tell you what I said. He goes, I used to play ball. I've been talked to like that once or twice in my life. I hate to have to do it to him, but obviously it was necessary because they come back and cut the lead in half.
Wow. Yeah, so, I mean, it's just a waiting game in the world of it is. Also in the world of waiting, we are sneakily getting close to college football. I think we're, around 80 days, 82 days away from the start of college football.
Sneaking up on us.
And a CBS writer gives LSU, write it down, LSU football is back. Over under.
Ink.
Yeah, write it in ink, write it in blood. LSU football is back. But the interesting part of the article from this writer is who we lose to. You would think maybe it'd be Alabama, A&M, but it's actually the Lane train after we beat Alabama is his prediction because we go to Ole Miss, play Matt Corral, whatever his name is.
Matt Corral.
The best quarterback
The best quarterback in the SEC, according to USA Today.
I mean, I saw what we posted, and I'm not disappointed in it because it was awesome. But he did tear us up for 400 yards.
no,
but I mean, he had three
five
turnovers?
interceptions.
He had five
Picks.
interceptions.
Five picks.
5 picks. I get it. But he is dangerous in anything with that Lane Kiffin offense, and I think if you get another year under, because there was a little controversy, if you will, between who they wanted at quarterback, and Matt Corral kind of strangleholded that job.
Yeah.
So I think a full year of him knowing he's the starter in a Lane Kiffin offense, I understand it because they're going to put up monster numbers. Now LSU going to Ole Miss and losing isn't something that I foresee happening because it hasn't happened in a while.
Right.
But I can see Ole Miss being a sneaky good team in the SEC West.
Especially if we go to Tuscaloosa and beat Bama, and we're riding that high, and then we get caught with a punch from Ole Miss. But
there's a lot of cautious optimism with the program. I mean, I don't know until I see the product on the field. If you were to tell me we're going to be undefeated going to Alabama, I could see that. I could understand where you're coming from when you look at the talent and the names on the rosters. You got a guy like Keishon Butte. The fact that you have either Miles Brennan or Max Johnson. A lot of teams don't even have that talent at quarterback. The depth at our skill positions. I think the defense is going to be good, and it brings up the question of, man, like, how terrible was Bo Pelini? I was talking. It can't. I mean, easier said than done. Being a defensive coordinator at LSU, with the horses you have, the pure talent, the athletes you have, especially when you have one guy wearing 24 now, and I mean 7, who takes up half the field. Makes the job kind of easier.
They had guys on guys on guys on that side of the ball last year and just could not put them in the right scheme to make the plays. And so it
as bad as the defense was and the confusion on the back end, he did create havoc with that LSU defense. We were definitely a turnover-ridden team, like turnover-based defensive team, and I think I'm not here to white knight for Bo Pelini because what he did was atrocious. That Mississippi State game was just an absolute lack of like football aptitude. In terms of
CJ Costello, a Heisman finalist after that game.
CJ Costello, and then they had another
the Missouri
quarterback threw for 400 yards, and he was on everybody's like, oh, should we be watching out for that guy? No, he threw 3 touchdowns over the last 6 games. Like he was awful. But if you want to put yourself in Bo Pelini's shoes, and if you ever want to cover for him, I do not, but I will say this. He was absolutely hamstrung by what the LSU offense was doing in the latter half, like the last 6 games of the year, I would say. He felt like he had to force turnovers to be able to give LSU a short field with TJ Finley and then Max Johnson. And to his credit, LSU football did that. In the last games, the Ole Miss game, we forced a ton of turnovers. In the Florida game, we forced turnovers. Like, that's what you have to do if you don't think your offense has the aptitude to be able to compete. But that doesn't explain the first 3 games of the year where we threw for over 350 yards. Right. And you were, like you said, you made CJ Costello a Heisman candidate. So glad to see him gone. And I think it speaks to the talent level that the LSU football has on the defensive end, to where anybody can almost come in, and as long as you don't really shake the bear too much, like you just don't want to fuck it up. Like,
just let the players quit on you.
let the players play, keep them happy, and have them a scheme that they can believe in, and you can be a good team.
The players have to buy in because they are athletes. They are the ones going out and making the plays. Scheme only does so much.
They did not put Cordero Flott in a place to succeed at all.
If your players don't trust you, like Flott didn't trust Pelini to put him in a position to be great. So he's not going to go out there.
And I was really high on him. He played really good at Bama when we beat them. And when coming in that year, I think Cordell Flott could be a great lockdown.
And players didn't get put in the right spots. And so it broke trust between Pelini and the defense, and they played like it.
How do you regain that trust? You bring in, I think
it kind of parallels to the LSU baseball thing, where you bring in a young, hungry coach that he needs to succeed for his own personal resume, and then it's a guy that you can buy into because he has a totally different feel around the program and what he brings and the energy he brings to the table. By all accounts, Bo Pelini had less than interest in the job and
first one in, first one out.
Last one in.
Yeah, my bad.
Last one in, first one out. And and this goes back to, and I hate to say it's an indictment on O, but it kind of is for not interviewing the people that you want on your staff. And then Coach O is an absolute energy guy. We come early in the morning and we leave late. And Bo Pelini is, I don't show until anytime before, anytime after 9 a.m. So if you have that interview, you have that mesh where you're like, all right, I understand that he's not going to come in the times we need him to come in.
I was victim of the hire. I thought the hire made sense.
I think we all were, and that's why you have to be cautious of placating to an LSU fan base that thinks they know what the right answer is. And I mean, I would say most of LSU is behind Vitello, and I think that has that same kind of recompense to where you have to be worried. If LSU fans are all on board, it doesn't absolutely mean it's a slam dunk. Kim Mulkey is easy to say that about because she's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
So I think whenever you bring these other names in, you have to be cautious about what the fan base thinks, but you also have to understand that there's probably not a more educated fan base in the country. These people care, not only about LSU baseball, LSU basketball, but LSU football is the crown jewel of what a fan base knows
touch
about.
That baby.
Yes. So I think that's what made the Bo Pelini hire make sense to all of us, is because hell, it made sense. Everybody was all in on it. So why even interview? It's a slam dunk.
Right.
And then when you see him get here, what the hell are we doing on defense? So you have to kind of play both sides of the card and do your due diligence and make a good hire.
To going back to one of the points you made, Ole Miss, we got turnovers. Florida, we got turnover. Is that the trend in defense? Because remember back in the days, mid-2000s, 9-6 games, and now it seems like nobody can stop the spread offense. There's just no defense in college football right now. Is the formula of success on the defensive side of the ball? Is it timely turnovers? Is it you can throw for 400 yards all you want, but once you get to 35, the red zone, we're going to shrink the field and you can try and kick a field goal. Is that the trend for success now in college football?
Kind of get your offense as many touches as possible. If I get a turnover here, that's an extra possession from offense to score another touchdown. If you're going to score 40, we're going to score 50 because I'm going to take the ball from you twice.
Yeah, turnovers have always been the name of the game, but it's turned into
more of an oomph now.
It's turned into a bend but don't break on all ends. Because if you look back, I mean, you only have to go back. It's crazy to say this, but 10 years, and we're when LSU Alabama,
we're begging for offense.
It was 9-6 in an overtime game.
Right.
That shit does not happen anymore.
So does the pendulum swing back to that ever?
I don't think it ever will.
No.
And I hate to speak in absolutes like that, because there's going to be a team that's going to revert back to ball control. And I think you might see it. This is swinging way to the NFL, but the Patriots drafting 2 tight ends and trying to play ball control with the quarterback that they don't absolutely trust, who's
slinging the ball,
who's almost run first. So they're going to control the clock, pin you deep, and try to strangle the game away from you with a low scoring game. I don't know if the college football will ever get there again, just because of how the hash marks are different, the way the field setup is different, the clock is different. It just makes sense for that sport to be fast.
Well, look at the time frame, 2013 to around 2016. You go to the Big 12 and you look at that and you see Texas Tech, TCU, teams like that putting up race meets in just 56 to 50 games. It just seems like not even playing defense out there, and that's not football. And look at that Ole Miss game that we played and just what Bama was able to do.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to your point. If you can go out, you almost are okay with giving anything up until you get to your own 40.
Right.
You don't mind giving up a couple pop plays, and then when you get inside your own 35 and the field shrinks, That's when you see if you absolutely have a good offensive scheme, which Joe Brady proved to have in spades in 2019 because we had the number one red zone offense and the number one third down conversion rate inside the red zone, inside like 35 yards, I believe, and the number one touchdown rate inside 30 yards. So that's when the field shrinks, and that's when you see, you see what scheme is and why you hire certain people to do the job that they do.
I think one of the playing factors of that too is kind of look at where the money and the longevity of your career is in football. You make a lot of money being a wide receiver, and you can play. You can kind of, if you can have clean route running skills and keep those hands, you can play for a decent amount of time in football. You know, if I were to have a kid and he's a great athlete, I would love for him to play wide receiver. You can get that money, and you have that playmaking ability like a running back. Now, when you're playing the spread offense, it's hey, put your playmaker in space and make him let him make a move.
Running backs now have to be able to catch the ball. If you cannot catch the ball as a running back, there's not a spot for you in the NFL.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's crazy because you used to want a running back that could split the tackles and just run straight at somebody.
You used to want a Brandon Jacobs. Like, and he was an anomaly even in a game, even in a game where they wanted power backs.
And you see that with Fournette. He has completely changed his game from a punch-you-in-the-face running back to, hey, I'm going to catch the ball at the backfield and do something in open space.
And I think that was something that was totally underutilized at LSU. He could catch the ball at the backfield. We just never used it.
Power dive.
Yeah, we hung around here yesterday. We watched the old Auburn game, and we were like,
I was like, is that a fullback?
I haven't seen toss diving in years, and it's so disgusting to look at again.
And so that just goes to show how even, I think it almost all comes back to Nick Saban, who was an advocate for trying to slow down college football at first because his defenses weren't built for a speed attack against it. They weren't built for a spread offense. And then he completely shifted the way he recruited, not only on offense but defensively, to get smaller guys out there. LSU was primed to be able to cover spread offenses on defense because look at what they did against A&M and against Louisville in bowl games where we had Quan Alexander, cats that could fly around the football.
All sorts of great middle linebackers.
Yes, we just didn't have the horses on offense, and I think we did. We just didn't have the game plan. And so once Nick Saban decided to kind of roll with what was happening in college football, once he realized he couldn't change it, it was forever gone at that point. Once Nick Saban's on board, everybody's putting up 50.
Someone in the bunker, Andrew Messina, has a phenomenal point. He says Clyde Edwards was so good out of the backfield catching the ball. It was an underrated part of the 2019 offense. I think that's what made it click so much was the fact that Clyde was pretty much just a wide receiver out there and what Thaddeus Moss could do.
Yeah, the ability for LSU to go empty in all of those sets. And Clyde's great, and his ability to catch the ball at the backfield was a difference maker, but it takes a trigger man to be able to pull that and realize what he's looking at to be able to go empty with zero protection other than your 5 offensive linemen and make decisions quickly, and that's when it comes back to Joe Burrow. But
you need those legs.
Yes, and also be able to go 5 reads deep, because Clyde, unless
you gotta be a genius.
Unless it's drawn up for Clyde, you're going Chase, Jefferson, Marshall, Thad. Okay, Clyde. Like that's 5 reads deep, getting it to your running back. So.
And that's something that Joe Burrow had in spades. He understood that offense, and he's getting to that point at the Bengals where during the latter half of the year before he got hurt, the coach said he turned it over to him. He's like, look, you do your thing. We're calling checks at the line. He was doing all of the stuff that he did at LSU because he's a football savant. And when we interviewed Brad Johnson, you heard some of that same stuff out of Brad where he could recall plays not only from the Super Bowl, but like Week 12 games that didn't matter. And so you hope that passes down a little bit to Max, because when it's all said and done, I know Rohan liked Miles Brennan, and I'm not against Miles Brennan being the starter.
But it's only Miles for, a year?
Right, and then it just feels like an odd transition whenever you could start building something very powerful with 2 years of Max Johnson and get him very comfortable. But what Miles Brennan did in those first 3 games is nothing to sneeze at. He put up, was
he
probably
in the country in yards.
I think he was at least top 3 in yards per game passing. And by all accounts, the LSU offense was humming. We couldn't stop a soul. So I understand why there's not been a starter named, because I would imagine the competition is very much open. Just in terms of what Miles did, if you just put on the tape last year,
just rewatch it.
I think it comes down to leadership in the locker room, who those guys gravitate toward.
Yeah, it comes down to player chemistry.
You can't go into the season with this still being a question mark.
Do you think John Emery could do what Clyde Edwards could do? You go 5 out, Emery
100%.
could run.
I think Emery could do it 100%, but he hasn't produced getting the ball handed off to him, so they can't trust him if they do need. Because it's an RPO. So the option to run is always there, and Emory has not produced when the ball is handed off to him.
Not only that, he hasn't shown in pass pro what he can do. You can't keep him in if he's not running.
Remember the Oklahoma game? What was it? Clyde was hurt, so it was the Chris Curry game. Emory comes out for a play, messes up the pass pro. Burrow looks to the sideline and says, "Get that guy off the field now."
He said, "Get him the fuck off the field," and told it to him.
It's so important as a running back. You have to be able to protect the quarterback at some point.
But not only, it's not you don't have to stand and block. If you could just chip and get out,
exactly,
he couldn't even do. He didn't know where to go.
Right.
There was a screen pass set up for Emory, and he didn't go out for the screen, and that's when Burrow pulled him off the field.
Yeah.
So it's happened more than once. But if you want to line him up and strictly, if you want to split him out and let him go play receiver,
he's going to do it.
He can do that.
Shallow cross and open field.
But he doesn't. I don't think he's yet to the football acumen where Clyde was, that understood the offense to the point where I know exactly what I'm doing regardless of where you line me up. And that's the difference between a first-round pick and somebody that's struggling to get on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, that offense could be so dangerous.
He's dangerous.
If he can be a pass catcher, Ed can break to the next level.
Right.
I'm just waiting for that because you see it. You saw it on the Alabama run. I mean, it was a terrible game, but it's like, oh my God, John Emory finally broke one.
Right, and that's what he showed so many flashes of why he was probably the number one running back in the country.
Yeah.
And the reason that we tried so hard to squeeze him from Georgia. Coach O sat outside with him outside of Tiger Stadium for 2 hours after the LSU Georgia game and flipped him then. And that's the reason that you get him, is because of he has this game-breaking ability, but you have to be able to put it all together.
Yeah.
So, what's your pick? Do you want Ty Davis or would it be Emory?
I would like to think a package is available where you put both of them in the backfield, and then you can split one out or split the other out.
Okay.
Ty Davis Price probably can catch passes.
Yeah.
And I think they all can at this point. Like they've all grown up in the 7-on-7 era where they'll go out there and they understand that you have to be able to catch the ball. But it's LSU football, so I'd imagine that TDP gets the lion's share of the carries, and
he's also shown to be the one that can produce the most. And I think it's very much open between the two, just like the quarterback competition is. I think you give TDP the nod first, and you throw Emory in there, and if he breaks something, then Emory's the guy.
I think you can go Thunder and Lightning. You can go Lindell White, Reggie Bush, where you have two game breakers. Well, one that you can trust to run up the middle and get you, 3-4 yards to carry,
one that can
bust one, and then you have one that you put back there that the defense is terrified of getting the ball.
I look at the schedule, and I'm just going back to the talking point of that CBS writer, and just the thought of going undefeated in Alabama. Is this going to be the 1 year at Alabama? It's so hard to reload every single year. I mean, they had one of the best drafts ever. That Bama team was unreal this year. It's just they're replacing so much, and they do it every year. Just new coaching staff, new players. I mean,
this will prove the gap between LSU and Alabama this year, because they very much had an LSU draft class that LSU had in 2019. This is that team where everybody got plucked and went to the NFL, and you're replacing 15, 17 guys on your roster that were absolute contributers. Yeah. So if they can fill in the way that
shows the gap.
Right. If they can fill in and make another run at a national championship, it just shows that we're running in a race that we can't win.
And it's just, it comes down to is, yes, we have the ingredients. Georgia has the ingredients. They're the same ingredients as Alabama. But sometimes when you make an amazing meal, it comes down to the world-class chef.
Right.
And there's the difference.
They got Anthony Bourdain back there, or Gordon Ramsay, whoever you want to put, and we might have Guy Fieri, which is a fun and entertaining way to do it.
That's the perfect analogy.
But it's not going to, it may not win you a natty.
Here and there it will. I'm looking at the schedule. Me and Lloyd were talking about it. Why are people so high on A&M? I'm not trying to be just the LSU bias.
Every year.
I think it's like you said. It comes down to the chef. I think people believe that Jimbo Fisher is probably one of the top 5, top 8 coaches in the country, and this is his team now. He's been able to bring in multiple recruiting classes.
Cycles,
So he's been, like you said, he's been through recruiting cycles, and now he's putting together. They almost had to weather the Mond era, because that wasn't his guy. So he had to kind of coach around him, and then when Jimbo Fisher has had his quarterback in. Jameis Winston won a Heisman as a freshman or sophomore? Redshirt freshman. Yeah. So he got Jameis Winston to be a Heisman winner and a number 1 overall pick at Florida State.
Right.
And Florida State, by all accounts, has been what since he's been gone?
Awful.
Since Jimbo left.
Terrible. They can't fix it.
So it goes to show what like Jimbo Fisher is an absolute stud of a coach.
Yeah, great coach.
And he should have been at LSU, which is fine that he's at A&M. I think it worked out just great for LSU in a 2019 Natty and a drumming of A&M at home. Beautiful. But I mean, I can see why there should be skepticism on some parts, but I understand why there's optimism.
I believe they lost 4 O-linemen. They've lost Kellen Mond. And it's just like, that's a lot. That's a lot to lose a veteran quarterback and a veteran line and just put in all these new faces.
But I think it's a nod to his recruiting ability to bring in guys that are probably studs. Like they've been in the same breath as not Alabama, but as in LSU, Georgia, Ohio State. Like they're in that same mold where they're bringing in top 10 recruiting classes every year.
Right.
Yeah. Who do you think has one of the biggest advantages in the recruiting world? Is it Bama? Is Bama number one? Easiest place to recruit?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just look at
that trophy case.
Nick Saban's pictures, whenever he's got cats in there, he brings them to the lake. You saw that guy put up their recruiting video.
I was bringing this question up because I saw that.
It's,
all these people are just making TikTok videos of their recruiting visits, and like if I'm, say, like a GM of a college football program, I'd be like, whoa, we gotta control that because they could get slippery real quick.
I don't think they're coming after Nick Saban ever. I think I think Nick Saban knows that. Yes.
And Nick Saban knows he's not going to get popped. So he's going to do what he wants, and he's going to continue to get recruits at a high level like he has as long as we can remember.
Yeah, that's what he does. Like you said, when you go look at his office and look at everything that he has opened, those aren't, I mean, they ain't coupons in there. Those are, he's got rings from every year that he can plop on the table and say, I have, brought in however many recruiting classes, every single one of them has won a national championship. Like, if you're about winning, why would you go anywhere else? And people talk about the competition at Alabama being a detriment. Every single one of those guys that has left and gone to the NFL. See, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the competition that I went up against at Alabama. And I would say you could say the same thing at LSU.
You could.
LSU and you had Jamar Chase and Derek Stingley Jr. going at it every single day. And look at Jamar Chase being the top 5 pick. Like, LSU is building in that mold.
Quincy Wiggins or Will Campbell.
That was awesome. Iron Traverse Iron.
Please come to LSU, Quincy.
Yeah, get both of them here. And, like, you can do that. It takes almost a package deal. Like, you have to be on the same page offensively and defensively. Like
100%.
And Quincy said it himself. It's like, I wanted to work against that guy.
Yeah.
So if you don't work against him for 3 years, come to LSU and you'll work against him.
Yeah. Just one of the last thoughts. Someone says Jimbo made Christian freaking Ponder a first-round pick. And that is a true testament to Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It's terrible. Hot wife. I'll give him that.
Oh, yeah. She has some thoughts.
Christian
Ponder gets to be a first-rounder. Was he there for E.J. Manuel? Also a first-rounder? Was that his quarterback?
I think E.J. Manuel was his quarterback.
Yeah, so he's made 3 first-round quarterbacks out of Florida State. And by all accounts, I mean, he's a quarterback guru. He did the same thing at LSU with Jamarcus Russell. And I think he was here for Matt Mock as well.
And Kellen Mond's in the NFL.
Yeah. Vikings might be, if Cousins leaves.
He's been able to do those kinds of things with quarterbacks. He understands, and he still runs. You talk about changing of the guard in terms of like spread offenses. He still runs a pro style.
Right.
Yeah.
He's one of the few coaches that still has like professional principles that he runs in college, as opposed to everybody committing exclusively to the spread.
And LSU was able to hold it last year. Like, if
LSU should have won that game.
If offense produces against A&M last year, it's a win.
It should have been a win.
Yeah. Well, just for the final 15, take a quick break, get those ad sponsors in. Also, just want to shout out Go Chevrolet the Boys on Florida Boulevard. As everyone knows in the UDL, I've been absolutely, in the month of June, been getting screwed by car problems completely. Blown out my transmission. Life is tough. Probably going to be stopping by Go Chevrolet. They'll probably help
get
out
you a
the young
spark,
kid.
brother.
Yeah, get you one of them sparks.
I need something. I mean, I was talking to Lloyd, and my car just completely transmission blew out of red stoplight. He's like, dude, you are the problem in Baton Rouge traffic.
If you're wondering why you got stopped anywhere between Nicholson and East Boyd.
Yeah, that's me,
It's
guys.
your boy Jack.
I'm sorry.
There's a video that is just one of the saddest things I've ever seen, where he filmed his RPMs go from about 4 to 0 in like half a second, and he's just in the turning lane. He has nowhere to go.
So
he's pulling into Sonic, and so his car is toast. Michael Divinity, hook your boy up at Go Chevrolet. Jesus, we'll go to LaPlace.
They will help me out, and hopefully I won't be limping my car into a Sonic parking lot.
Water brought to you by True Blue Water. We got Falaya Nevadas, who's helping us with our website. I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but it looks
great.
Absolutely great.
Absolutely beautiful.
Excited about that. Hub International, shout out Katie. R&B Builders swinging by Jordy's place. I have to go meet them over there after the show. So I'll go meet up with R&B Builders to help him with the flood stuff. So shout out to all our sponsors, and you're about to hear some more of them right now.
Take a quick break and be back.
Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculotta.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculotta.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard.
Yeah. Fucking doing nuclear fusion over here, probably.
And splitting the atom.
Yeah, they're gonna be watching this blooper reel right here. Going in on the final 10 minutes. Appreciate you guys as always. Everyone in the bunker. This is what makes the show so special, is you guys interacting and feeling a part of the show.
Supporting the B team. We're
Supporting
getting some love.
I love it. People want to come to the strip club this morning.
I really feel like, we just blew out one team, and I'm like the coach's kid, and the whole student section is just going crazy. It's like, hey, maybe he could just shoot it. Put
him in the corner. Let him. Yeah, you're the walk on at LSU with the floppy hair. Like, let that kid shoot up a three. I would never.
We are the floppy haired walk on, and we appreciate it. You guys still tuning in, and just as always, every single morning.
Real quick, if you're that kid, if you're that guy, you have to shoot. I don't know. I'm never gonna play.
You let it fly every time you touch the ball.
Because if you never get to play again,
I'm stirring the pot if I drain it, baby.
Exactly.
You gotta go all out.
If you're like he's only not shooting for the hope to get back on the court,
right,
where you're not going to shoot again. Get out there, throw up 3 threes, and then get fussed at. But if you make one, dude, you're getting water dumped on you. You're the toast of the town.
Drill one, look at the student section, hands
you're
up.
You're feeling like Burrow smoking a cigar.
Yeah, it's your night. So there's no point. If you're ever one of those guys, go out there and let it rip.
How amazing was sports yesterday? We were all in our group chat, and the dopamine release of just watching that Vanderbilt game, the Hawks games at Buzzin are just so close. The Islanders game,
right?
I needed to be at Buffalo Wild Wings. I needed like 5 TVs in my house.
Right. And the thing is, Vandy ends, and then right after that, you flip the channel to the Hawks game, and there's 3 minutes left. You're going through the home stretch. You get to check it out.
How amazing is that?
It was awesome.
Trae Young is a superstar.
Goodness gracious! And it's just crazy because of the way he plays.
Oh,
he'll drill it from 54 feet out, and then he'll get into the lane and he'll just lightly float it up top.
Him going off the glass yesterday,
John Collins,
in the middle of a game, just goes to show. Like, nasty. I don't know, Atlanta does not think they're the underdog in that series.
No,
without a doubt, they think they're going to win it. And I think this brings a bigger point that we were also talking about before the show, is how much one coaching change can absolutely change the trajectory of your team. So if you're the Pelicans, you have to look. We're one hire away. If you just cash in on one time,
buy and
get people to buy in, because that Hawks team is completely bought into what Nick McMillan does.
They have one All-Star. We have two. We have two guys that can go get us 27 a night.
And you should say, like, all NBA teams are talented, but you have the potential to have 3 All-Stars on that team, but like not a legitimate big 3, but like a baby big 3.
Right.
With Zion at the helm of that thing, who is on the way to be a top 5 player in the NBA, and then you have Brandon Ingram, who could be he's an absolute
Kevin Durant
would be one of the best, one of the best Robins of all time.
Well, people were saying the argument. I mean, I'm a Jason Tatum stan, and before, not this season, last season, people were saying I'm going to take Ingram over Tatum. Like, if I look at the numbers,
until this year, I think that's what after Watson last year, I think the pick was Ingram, and then you look at this year, it's Tatum without a doubt.
The Hawks were 14-20 before McMillan took over.
They made the coaching move, and it completely turned them around, and it shows the Pelicans exactly what they have to do. Get the hire right. We're in the Western Conference Finals.
And I think it goes for how much you have to have input from your players.
Right.
Because if you can get the guys to buy in and make them feel like they're a part of the process, then they give a shit, because it was also their names on it too. Like they rubber stamped the hire, so you don't want them to fail. I feel like the Jeff Van Gundy hire was an absolute only a front office decision, and they were not involved at all.
I think if anyone else was involved other than David Griffin, the hire doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because nobody thought that was a smart move.
David Griffin is the luckiest man in sports, and just an absolute nincompoop.
He's made one good move, and it was the easiest. I've said this 1,000 times.
Draft Zion.
It was the easiest move in the world to draft Zion.
He had that last bit of Cavs luck that followed him over to.
And we thought the AD trade was like crazy good, and I think we did come out pretty well out of the Anthony Davis trade.
The Brandon Ingram.
But then right after the Zion, you go and you get rid of Drew Holiday, who scores 30 something for the Bucks last night, and it's half the reason they are in the game. And then you.
Or do you think that screws with the environment of the team? As we traded Drew Holiday, the anchor of our team, the city, for a bag of Skittles?
Yeah, no, I think the Holiday trade is really what screwed us up this year. Van Gundy only did so much, but a mix between Van Gundy and Drew Holiday leaving is what put us in having the 10th pick in the draft.
It's interesting. It's a changing of the guard in the NBA. LeBron's 36. The ankle, he'll never be the same again.
He'll never be 100% again. And you say changing of the guard, and I think that's almost prevalent around all of sports. We're talking about it with Tony Vitello trying to get to LSU, or just a younger guy coming to LSU. Yeah. And then you see it in the NBA where they want. I mean, the NBA is older and like in terms of trying to find like a niche fit.
Right.
But you see it in college basketball. It's already prevalent with what they're doing at Duke, bringing in John Shire. Roy Williams is out. It's just that like we're watching sports change before our eyes in terms of it. It's becoming a young man's
name, image, and likeness now.
Yes, and they're fighting that thing tooth and nail. And then Mr. Kavanaugh loves a beer or 50. More. As an absolute advocate for, I mean, he's playing the people's card. He's an advocate for college football, or college athletes in general getting paid.
How awesome was that? That was like the one time in America the country is so polarized, everyone hates each other, but it was a 9-0 decision that we all could agree the NCAA sucks.
Yeah, there's never been a 9-0 decision. Like, I don't think there's ever been like a 9-0 absolute.
Right.
We're going 100% this way on the Supreme Court ever.
You know that Floyd Mayweather quote where he said he's the greatest at legal robbery? I think a close second's probably the NCAA. It's like right there.
100%.
So after watching Trae Young, people will forget they were traded on draft day.
Yeah, Luka and Trae.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll always be tethered together.
Yeah. I think nobody loses the trade. I think Luka's better.
Are they just even right now?
I think Luka's better.
Luka's better, but
Trae's legit.
Result wise,
it's Trae. But Trae is also getting help from other people, and Luka didn't.
What's the difference between the two teams, between the Mavericks and the Hawks?
Nothing.
They're built very similarly.
I think Trae Young's better.
I just think the chemistry.
Tingus Pingus?
Yeah, freaking Tingus Pingus, not knowing what he's doing.
Who the fuck is Tingus?
They aren't buying into Rick. They weren't buying into Rick Carlisle.
Well, he's gone.
And so now he's gone. And then you look at the Hawks. I didn't realize how deep of a team they are. It goes Trey, John Collins, Capella, Herter, the redhead, and then you got Gallinari, who just gets buckets, Lemon Pepper Lou in there. I was like, I've completely forgot he got traded.
I call him strip club wings Lou.
Yeah. See, I was with you on. I was watching the game last night, and I was trying to convince myself, like, wait, they're deep. But if you put those people on any other, if you put those guys on the Lakers, it doesn't seem like that's what it fits. It's just they're in this absolute like shooting into the ionosphere of just playing together with chemistry, and I don't know what brings it together. They've been galvanized almost, it seems like.
It is college basketball-esque in my mind.
Yes, it feels like college basketball making a run in the tournament.
This is awesome. People are hating on it. They're like, I don't like the underdog and the unpredictability of this. It's like, have you not watched the NBA for the last 10 years? It's been the same finals.
It's what sports should be. It should not be Cavs Warriors every year. It should be, hey, the Hawks and Suns might play in the NBA Finals.
Oh, yeah, and people were shitting on the, the ratings are going to be terrible for these two teams. And Mark Cuban tweeted this out. They've never been higher in terms of people watching in their homes. Like, the television numbers are down in terms of cable, but everybody streams now. And he's like, it's the highest it's been since probably like a LeBron Warriors Finals. It's been awesome.
It's been amazing.
Did you see how the Islanders fans celebrated? I
loved it. I mean, I don't know what to do in that situation, and neither did they. So they just started chucking things on the ice. And the guy that scored the overtime goal, don't know his name, but he was like, I'm scared to go out on the ice. I might get hit with a beer. And it's like, all right, I mean, it's part of it, dude.
Imagine he shot. They would have went nuts.
Oh my god.
Oh, he should have caught Stone Cold Steve Austin, catch two, crash him, and be like, let's fucking go, Islanders, let's go.
Party in the parking lot.
Game 7, we're going to Tampa.
Right.
So, I mean, like you said, COVID took one to the teeth last night. When you look at the Islanders, if you haven't seen it, go look it up, because it was an absolute, it was a riot. It was a controlled riot. And then you see, I mean, Milwaukee was electric until Trae Young stole another soul.
Right.
He's collecting Infinity Stones at this point.
Philly fans and New York.
Got spit on and laughed at it.
I think it was like the Jordan meme. It's like when I took that personally. Remember, it was like how TNT does the 4K video, and someone bumped into Trae Young, and he did that. Ever since, man, he's been snatching souls.
And then he hits the 3 with the little shimmy.
Oh, he crosses Holiday, who's a top 3 perimeter defender, stands there, little shoulder shimmy, and then
nylon, baby,
cashes it. And so Trae Young is on a different stratosphere right now, just playing out of his mind. And even when he plays poorly, he still is finding other ways to affect the game in terms of assist or whatever he wants to do. But him, what he dropped 48 last night?
48.
I mean,
scratching 50.
Against what you would think would be the team that the Bucks are probably the perennial favorites at this point. You knock out the Nets, and then you go face the lowly Hawks, and you're like, we got a straight run to the finals here. And Trae Young takes another game from you.
Legacy series for Giannis. If Giannis can't beat Trae Young,
man has no bag.
No bag at all. Oh my gosh, he's either running straight at you or he's passing the ball.
He was at the free throw line for 15 seconds yesterday. They counted out in the crowd, like the little
awful.
And he makes them now, though. He loves it.
But he stands there before he gets the ball from the ref. He's just
hoping.
And he gets it, and he's like, okay,
this is how it works.
It's crazy.
But I think the bigger point here is if we think like crowd, I think the crowd has had a huge factor. If you go back and watch the bubble, and how teams were affected by no crowds,
50, man.
Right? Anybody could do it. But now you see how much like home field, like home court, home ice, whatever plays an advantage. Whether it be helping the away team in a sense of a Trae Young who wants that pressure, or you see the Islanders who have no business. They just got shelled 8-0, and they come back and then win a game in overtime because they're at the barn.
I don't know much about hockey, but I guess like the Lightning are like the Warriors, like KD Warriors. Like they're super, super good. And the fact that the Islanders are able to go Game 7 and maybe beat them.
The only thing I know about the Lightning is that they had 2 players sit out for salary cap reasons, but then the salary cap doesn't count whenever you get to the playoffs, and it was their 2 best players, so they basically got to take the year off. And they made the playoffs.
So those legs are fresh.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it seems like. They look like the best team in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Right.
If the Pelicans were to ever leave, should we get a hockey team? Because after seeing the Islanders throw, so much beer. I'm like, wow, that's a
Imagine a
Louisiana
hockey
thing.
team in New Orleans.
They'd be
dude.
throwing bottles of Ciroc.
You gotta do
Yeah,
something.
we already have frozen drinks here. Just
Yeah.
throw Hurricanes on the ice, dude. Zamboni that stuff up and drink it. Just extra cold.
Ice will be 40% alcohol.
Yes, but yeah, that thing will be a slushy
Yeah,
by the time
yeah.
we're done. Yeah, that whole ice would be an
You could
advantage,
sell it
no
again.
doubt. But I think when we talk about the crowds being back and home field advantage and all this, I don't think we'll see
Tiger
anything
Stadium.
compared to it when you get to college football
Right.
again.
Tiger Buffalo's gonna be
Stadium.
crazy,
It's gonna be the best
dude.
college football season ever. It's just the way it's set up. People are dying for it. They're jonesing for it in the first
Well, it's
night.
it's like the Trae Young lob. It's just up on the glass right now, and the second football season comes back, slamming it.
I'm not
down.
gonna
It's-
lie. When I hear Calling Baton Rouge for the first time, or I hear it's
gonna be
Saturday night in
emotional.
Death Valley, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah,
I'm actually
honestly,
gonna cry.
I think
It'll
tears
probably
will be shed.
It'll probably be emotional there, no doubt. And then if it turns out to be we take a big L in that first home game, it'll look just like the Islanders. There's going to be shit raining down from every corner of the stadium. But I'm more excited. I would imagine that you raise the flag again. You like that
have to raise
2019
that with-
flag.
yes.
I mean, you
Yeah.
have to put it up there ceremoniously, like for a ceremony or what
Right.
have you. But you drop
should
that
petition
thing
this.
down and you bring it right back
Because
up.
I want like a B-52 bomber going over Tiger Stadium, fireworks, and they raise it up, and then Joe Burrow smoking a cigar while they do it.
I don't know when we bring him back, but it'll be. Hopefully the season's going well, and we need him back.
Statue
Yes.
him this year.
No, I'm telling you to come back to a game.
Oh, yeah.
I
Just
guess
to wave.
Auburn is where he cut his teeth, and they usually come back for an Auburn game, so I could see that.
When he has a bye week.
Yes, and you kind of line those things up. I mean, he can get in and get out. It's a Saturday, dude.
Yeah.
He's flying private at this point.
I-
He's got new chiclets. He's got money coming out of any orifice
Those
you want to
teeth would
pick.
look good on the big screen.
Yeah, so I think if we could bring Burrow back for a game, I don't know, but that'll get the place rocking.
I think we would throw beers at him, but because we just don't know what to
Cigars.
do.
Flick cigars at him in panties.
Just everyone would be bowing. I think
Yeah,
everyone would be bowing.
it would be the
It'd be a very
third down
unhealthy-
defense song. You just kind of bow down the entire time. So that's whatever we talked about. I've been noticing the atmospheres. At some point, we're not going to talk about it anymore. But I want to get out in front of it and notice that LSU first home game will be absolutely electric, and I can't
So
wait
McNeese
to be
State?
a part of it again.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I mean, sorry, Frank, you're about to get your teeth kicked
kicked
in.
in.
And no mercy. Poor Cody Orgeron. Your coach's son over there running for his life against
Oh,
that
you're getting
4-3.
heckled, brother.
Dad is coming after you.
Yeah, Jesus. I feel bad for him, but that place is going to be. McNeese is going to have to see 110,000 because there's not going to be one
Yeah.
soul missing that game.
Not at all.
The Tiger Walk's I think it's gonna be one of the best Tiger Walks ever.
And I've seen some good ones.
Yeah, I think it's going to be absolutely electric.
Well, there's your morning coffee for today. Just
Yeah.
talking about LSU football.
That'll get you
The
turned up on this here Thursday.
What's the interview we got set up?
Oh, yes. We have, I guess, the Kingmaker's Kingmaker, Richard
Yep.
Lipsy, coming up at 12 o'clock sharp. It'll premiere an interview that we did back in the day when we didn't have any of this technology. It'll look a little different, but the quality of the interview is still excellent. It goes into it does a deep dive on the history of LSU. He tells some stories about JFK, as he was the only person in the room while they did the autopsy. He was the only person that wasn't a doctor. He was charged with guarding the body while they did the
This looks
autopsy.
funky.
It was, yeah. So he goes into all the magic bullet stuff, but more importantly for LSU fans, he goes into the state of the LSU program, how he basically strong-armed Joe Oliva out of LSU. He'll tell you himself in
Mouse
the
clubhouse
interview.
ended.
He was the one that had made the initial pull to get Oliva out of his position and bring Woodward in.
Shut
So
the
it's a
door.
fantastic interview. It's a little long form, probably goes 30 minutes. But Lipsy was in studio. It was unbelievable. So catch that around 12 o'clock. It'll premiere. It'll give you a countdown. We'll tweet it out when it comes out. So check in for that. Like I said, one of the best interviews we've probably ever done that kind of got lost in the ether just because we weren't where
So
we
when we
are right
deleted the
now.
YouTube channel?
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
That's the answer.
Yeah, I don't know how or what happened, but we're back. So it's a fantastic interview. Glad to put it up and glad y'all get to see it again if you haven't checked it out already. So that'll be up at 12.
Is Jordy back tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Kingmakers,
Kingmaker
Jordy back
returns.
tomorrow. He said that on Monday, and knowing Jordy the way that we know him, it might be y'all take it over, boys. You've done a great job.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I think he needs to come in Friday to kind of recap the trip. LSU baseball could be making waves by then, so it'd be nice to have him in studio. But yes, He should be back on Friday if you want the Kingmaker back. If he's not, you'll get the power hour with the boys.
We'll be
one more
shooting. I
time.
will be shooting in the
Stuck
corner.
with us again.
Yeah, you're stuck with like 3 and D
Continue
guys.
to let it fly.
We appreciate you guys as always. The fact that you guys are always in the bunker talking means the world to us. Always interacting on social media. Best fans out there. I know that's why Jordy does it, and that's why even we get up at this ungodly hour.
Right.
Is it early?
Huh? Yeah, right.
When you have Adderall, no.
Yeah. I'm just always like this.
You're just a morning rooster.
Check out these pits. Are you kidding me? You're just sweating them out.
All right, we appreciate you guys. Definitely check out that interview. It's awesome.
All right, later.
Later.
And hopefully Jordy comes back. We'll see.
We hope.